I was watching my son's hockey practice through the arena glass when my phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. He was 13, sitting on the bench not 30 feet away from me. "Dad, bathroom, now. Just you." My stomach dropped. Marcus never texted during practice. Coach Williams had a strict no-phones policy. I looked through the glass. Marcus was staring down at his lap, shoulders hunched in a way that made him look smaller than his 5'7" frame. I texted back, "Everything okay?" 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "No, please come. Don't tell anyone." I left my coffee on the bleacher and walked toward the locker rooms, my heart hammering against my ribs. The bathroom was empty, except for Marcus, who was standing by the sinks with his back to me. He was still in his practice jersey, number 17. "Marcus, what's going on?" He didn't turn around. His hands were gripping the edge of the sink so hard his knuckles had gone white. "I need you to look at something, and I need you to not freak out. Son, you're scaring me. Promise me you won't make a scene. Not here, not in front of everyone." I moved closer. "I promise. Show me." Marcus lifted the back of his jersey. His undershirt came with it. Purple and yellow bruises covered his lower back and ribs. Some were fresh, dark, and angry. Others had faded to a sickly green. But it was the ones on his side that made my vision tunnel. Perfect ovals. Fingerprints. Someone had grabbed him hard enough to leave marks that looked a week old at least. I couldn't breathe. The fluorescent lights above us buzzed. Somewhere in the arena, a whistle blew. "Who did this?" My voice came out strange, flat. "Assistant Coach Brennan. It started 6 weeks ago, after practices, when everyone else leaves. He says it's discipline training. He says I need to toughen up if I want to make AAA next year." Marcus's voice cracked. He was still facing the mirror, wouldn't look at me. "He makes me do extra drills. Wall sits while Marcus stopped. While he punches me in the ribs. Says I need to learn to play through pain. Last Tuesday, he made me do it for 20 minutes. I almost passed out. The bathroom floor felt unsteady beneath my feet. Assistant Coach Brennan, Derek Brennan. I'd met him a dozen times. Shook his hand at the season opener. He'd coached Marcus's team to regionals last spring. Everyone loved him. Does anyone else know? Mom does. Everything stopped. What? I told her 3 weeks ago. Showed her the bruises. She said Coach Brennan is trying to help me. That lots of coaches are tough on players who have potential. She said if I want to go anywhere with hockey, I need to learn to handle it. I stared at my son's reflection in the mirror. He had tears streaming down his face now, but his expression was eerily blank, like he'd learned to cry without making any sound. She told me not to tell you. Said you'd overreact and ruin my chances. But Dad, it's getting worse. Yesterday he used a hockey stick across my back. I can't. His voice broke completely. I can't do it anymore. I was already pulling out my phone. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely unlock it. We're leaving, right now. But practice isn't over. Coach Williams will. I don't care. I grabbed Marcus's coat from the hook by the door. Put this on. We're going to the hospital. Dad, no, Mom said. I don't care what your mother said. I guided Marcus out of the bathroom and straight past the arena entrance. Through the glass I could see the team running drills. I could see my wife, Patricia, sitting in the bleachers, where I'd been 5 minutes ago. She was watching the ice, sipping from a travel mug. She hadn't moved, hadn't followed us, hadn't checked if Marcus was okay, because she already knew. She'd known for 3 weeks. I got Marcus into the car. He was shaking now, full body trembles that made his teeth chatter. I turned the heat up to maximum, even though it was only October and barely cool outside. "I'm sorry," he kept saying. "I'm so sorry." "Stop. You have nothing to be sorry for." But Mom said, "Your mother is wrong." I pulled out of the parking lot, heading toward Toronto General. What he did is assault. What she did is I couldn't finish the sentence. I called my brother David while I drove. He's a criminal lawyer in Ottawa. He picked up on the second ring. "I need help. Now." I explained in short, clipped sentences. Marcus stared out the window beside me, silent. "Jesus Christ," David said when I finished. "Okay. Listen carefully. You're doing the right thing going to the hospital. They're mandatory reporters. The doctors will document everything and contact the police and Children's Aid. Don't wash his clothes. Don't let him shower. Do you have any texts or emails from Patricia about this?" "I don't know. Maybe on Marcus's phone." "Marcus, Do you have any messages from your mom about Coach Brennan? David's voice came through the car speakers. Marcus nodded, then realized David couldn't see him. Yeah, she texted me yesterday after practice. Told me to ice the bruises so they'd fade faster. Don't delete anything, David said. Screenshot everything. Send it to your dad's email right now. And Marcus, you're incredibly brave for telling your father. What's happening to you is wrong. It's criminal. You understand that? Yes, sir. Good. I'm getting in my car now. I'll be in Toronto in 4 hours. Don't talk to Patricia until I get there. The hospital took us seriously. The triage nurse saw Marcus's face pale and drawn, eyes red from crying, and walked us straight back. Doctor. Sarah Okoye examined him while I stood in the corner, documenting everything on my phone. Photos, notes, times. The bruises looked even worse under the fluorescent examination lights. These are consistent with repeated blunt force trauma, Dr. Okoye said quietly. Her voice was professional, but her eyes were furious. Multiple instances over several weeks. I'm seeing both fresh and healing contusions. This one, she indicated a dark purple mark on Marcus's lower back, is approximately 3 to 5 days old. This one is newer, within the last 48 hours. She looked at me. I'm required by law to report this. The police will be contacted. So will the Children's Aid Society. I understand. Please do. Marcus got dressed while Dr. Okoye stepped out to make her calls. He moved slowly, wincing every time he raised his arms. Dad, what's going to happen? We're going to make sure you're safe. That's all that matters. What about hockey? Forget hockey. But I love hockey. I sat down next to him on the examination table. I know you do, and you'll play again, but not with him. Not in any situation where someone can hurt you and call it training. My phone started buzzing. Patricia. I ignored it. It buzzed again, immediately. Then again. Marcus looked at it. That's Mom? I know. You're not going to answer? Not yet. Dr. Okoye came back with a police officer. Detective Linda Morrison, Toronto Police Service. She had kind eyes and a matter-of-fact way of speaking that seemed to calm Marcus down. I need to hear what happened in your own words, she said. Take your time. If you need breaks, just tell me. Marcus told her everything. The story came out in fragments at first, then in a rush. How Coach Brennan had kept him after practice the first time 6 weeks ago. How he'd said Marcus had potential but needed to work on his pain tolerance. How the discipline training had started with just punches to the ribs, then escalated to kicks, then to using equipment. He said if I told anyone, I'd be off the team. Said coaches talk to each other and I'd never play AAA anywhere. He said pain is part of the game, and if I couldn't handle his training, I'd never make it. Detective Morrison took notes without interrupting. When Marcus finished, she said, Did he ever touch you inappropriately? Anywhere besides the places you've described? No, just the hitting. And your mother knew about this? Marcus nodded. I showed her the bruises 3 weeks ago, maybe longer. She looked at them and said Coach Brennan was doing me a favor, that I needed to trust the process. Detective Morrison's expression didn't change, but I saw her grip tighten on her pen. Okay. We're going to need to speak with your mother. Is she aware you're here? She knows we left practice, I said. She's been calling me. I haven't answered. Don't. Not until we've had a chance to talk to her. I'm going to need to take a formal statement from both of you at the station. Are you able to do that today? Yes. My phone rang again. This time it was the home number. Then Patricia's cell again. Then a number I didn't recognize. That might be Coach Williams, Marcus said quietly. The head coach. He probably noticed we left. Detective Morrison looked at me. You can answer that one. Put it on, speaker. I did. Coach Williams's voice filled the examination room. Ryan, where'd you go? Patricia said. Marcus wasn't feeling well, but you just disappeared. Everything all right? No, sir. It's not. Marcus is with me at Toronto General. A pause. Is he injured? Did something happen during practice? Something's been happening for the past 6 weeks. We need to talk. In person. Of course. I can come to the hospital right now. Actually, I need you to do something else. I need you to make sure Derek Brennan doesn't leave the arena. Tell him I want to discuss Marcus's training. Keep him there until the police arrive. Another pause, longer this time. Ryan, what's going on? Detective Morrison took my phone. Coach Williams, this is Detective Linda Morrison with Toronto Police. We're going to need you to keep Assistant Coach Derek Brennan on site. Don't tell him why. Don't let him know police are coming. Can you do that? Jesus Christ. Yes. Yes, I can do that. Is Marcus okay? Marcus is safe. We'll be in touch shortly. She hung up, looked at me. Brennan's going to run the second he gets wind of this. We need to move fast. 20 minutes later, Marcus and I were in Detective Morrison's unmarked car, driving to the police station. I texted David that we'd be there for a few hours. He texted back that he was already an hour outside Toronto, driving 90 in an 80 zone. At the station, they separated us. Marcus went with Detective Morrison and a youth worker. I gave my statement to Detective Morrison's partner, Detective James Kwan. I told him everything Marcus had told me, showed him the photos from the hospital, forwarded him the screenshots Marcus had sent me texts from Patricia telling him to ice the bruises, telling him not to make a big deal out of it, telling him Coach Brennan was old school but effective. We're going to need to speak with your wife, Detective Kwan said. She's not staying at the house. Not after this. That's not really your call to make. Not yet. But we will be recommending emergency measures to Children's Aid. Given that she was aware of ongoing abuse and failed to protect Marcus, there are serious concerns about his safety in her care. My phone rang. Patricia again. This time, Detective Kwan nodded at me to answer it. Where are you? She was angry. I could hear it in the tight control of her voice. You took Marcus out of practice without telling anyone. Coach Williams is freaking out, and now someone's saying police are at the arena? What did you do? I took our son to the hospital to document the bruises Derek Brennan gave him. Silence. Then, Ryan, don't be ridiculous. Marcus showed me those. They're from hockey. Kids get bruises. Handprint-shaped bruises on his ribs. Bruises from being hit with a hockey stick across his spine. Those kinds of bruises. He's being dramatic. Derek's training methods are, Derek Brennan is being arrested right now for assaulting our son. And you're going to have a conversation with Children's Aid about why you knew about it and did nothing. You had no right. I had every right. I'm his father. You're ruining his future. Do you know how hard it is to get into AAA? Derek was helping him. I hung up. My hands were shaking again. Detective Kwan looked at me across the table. That conversation was recorded, with your consent. Are you comfortable with us using it? Yes. David arrived 40 minutes later, looking like he'd driven straight through without stopping. He took over immediately, asking questions I hadn't thought to ask, making sure every procedure was being followed correctly. They arrested Brennan, Detective Morrison told us. He denied everything at first. Then, when we showed him the hospital photos, he changed his story, said it was consensual training, that Marcus had agreed to it. Consensual? David's voice was ice. He's 13. Exactly. It doesn't matter if Marcus agreed. He's a minor, and Brennan was in a position of authority. The Crown's going to have a field day with this. They kept us at the station until nearly 8 p.m. A social worker from the Toronto Children's Aid Society showed up to interview Marcus separately. She spent an hour with him, then came out to talk to me and David. Marcus is going to need ongoing support, she said. Therapy, definitely. But he's articulate about what happened. He understands none of this was his fault. That's a good sign. What about his mother? I asked. We're opening an investigation. Given that she had knowledge of ongoing abuse and actively discouraged Marcus from reporting it, we have significant concerns about her judgment and ability to protect him. We'll be recommending supervised access only until our investigation concludes. How long does that take? Weeks at minimum, possibly months. These things don't move fast. But in the interim, Marcus should stay with you. We'll file the appropriate orders tomorrow. They let us leave around 9 p.m. I took Marcus to my brother's house in Toronto instead of going home. I didn't want to risk running into Patricia. David's wife Emma made us dinner even though neither of us was hungry. Their daughter Sophie, who was 11, sat with Marcus on the couch and showed him videos on her phone without asking any questions. Kids are good at that sometimes, knowing when someone needs distraction instead of interrogation. I called my parents from David's backyard, told them everything. My mother cried. My father asked me 3 times if Marcus was okay, as if the answer might change. Bring him here, my mother said. Both of you. Stay as long as you need. But I couldn't. Not yet. I had to be in Toronto for court proceedings, for meetings with Children's Aid, for whatever came next. Patricia tried calling 17 times that night. Then she started texting. You're keeping me from my son. The police are harassing me because of your lies. Derek said it was a misunderstanding. You're blowing this out of proportion. That last one made me turn off my phone. The next morning, a CAS worker showed up at David's house to check on Marcus. She spoke with him alone for 30 minutes, then came out to the living room where David and I were drinking coffee and pretending to watch morning news. He's doing remarkably well, all things considered, she said. But he needs stability. He needs to know where he's going to be living, what school he's attending, whether he'll see his mother. These questions are causing him anxiety. I want full custody, I said. Immediately. We're working on emergency measures. There'll be a hearing tomorrow. Bring Marcus. The judge will want to hear from him. The hearing was in family court, in a room that felt too small for the weight of what we were discussing. Patricia showed up with her own lawyer, a slick-looking guy in an expensive suit who kept calling me Mr. Thorne in a way that sounded like an insult. Marcus had to give testimony. They let him sit behind a privacy screen so he wouldn't have to look at Patricia directly. I sat in the gallery with David, listening to my son describe, in careful, measured words, how his mother had told him not to complain, not to be weak, not to jeopardize his hockey future by making waves. She said Coach Brennan was doing me a favor, Marcus said, his voice steady but small. She said I needed to learn to push through pain if I wanted to be serious about sports. Patricia's lawyer tried to argue that she'd been following the coach's guidance, that she'd trusted a professional, that she hadn't realized the extent of what was happening. The judge, Justice Helena Martinez, cut him off. Your client was shown bruises, documented injuries. She chose not to seek medical attention. She actively discouraged her son from reporting abuse. That's not a misunderstanding. That's a failure to protect. The ruling came fast. Emergency custody to me. Patricia was granted supervised access, only 2 hours per week, at a children's aid facility. She would have to complete a parenting assessment before anything changed. She would have to attend mandatory counseling about recognizing and reporting abuse. She left the courtroom without looking at Marcus. That night, I took Marcus back to our house. His house. I'd had the locks changed that morning, David's suggestion. All of Patricia's things were still there, but I couldn't deal with that yet. Marcus went straight to his room. I found him 20 minutes later sitting on his bed, holding his hockey stick. I don't know if I can go back, he said. To hockey? He nodded. I sat down next to him. You don't have to decide that today, or this week, or even this season, but I love it. I've been playing since I was 5. I know. And it's okay to still love it. What happened to you that wasn't hockey? That was one person using hockey as an excuse to hurt you. All the guys on the team are going to know. They're going to think I'm weak, that I couldn't handle Coach Brennan's training. Anyone who thinks that is an idiot. What you did took more courage than anything that happens on the ice. Marcus set down the stick. Dad, why didn't Mom protect me? I didn't have a good answer for that. I still don't. I don't know, buddy. I think she got so focused on you succeeding that she lost sight of you being safe. That's not an excuse. It's just sometimes adults make really terrible choices, even when they're supposed to know better. Derek Brennan was charged with multiple counts of assault and assault with a weapon. The investigation revealed he'd done this before, at other rinks, to other kids. 3 more families came forward after Marcus. One boy was only 11. Brennan took a plea deal 4 months later. No jail time, but 5 years probation, a permanent ban from coaching minors, mandatory anger management, and a restraining order keeping him 500 feet from any youth sports facility. I wanted to be angry about the sentence. David was livid, but Marcus seemed relieved it was over. I just don't want to see him again, Marcus said. The restraining order guaranteed that. Patricia and I started divorce proceedings in December. She contested everything, especially custody. Her lawyer argued she'd made a mistake, but was genuinely remorseful. My lawyer presented the texts, the hospital records, the CAS reports. The final custody arrangement came through in March. I got primary physical custody. Patricia got 2 weekends a month, unsupervised, now that she'd completed her court-ordered programs. Marcus could choose whether to see her or not. Most weekends, he chooses not to. Maybe when I'm older, he told me last month, when I'm not so angry anymore. I told him he could take all the time he needed. Marcus went back to hockey in January, with a different team at a different arena. His new coach, Coach Patel, has an open-door policy. Parents can watch any practice, anytime. She checks in with players individually, asks how they're feeling, actually listens to the answers. She's never even raised her voice, Marcus told me after his third practice. He seemed amazed by this, like kindness from a coach was some kind of miracle. Maybe in his experience, it was. He's seeing a therapist every Tuesday, Dr. Raymond Chen, who specializes in trauma in young athletes. Marcus doesn't tell me much about what they discuss, but he seems lighter after those appointments. Less weighed down. The nightmares have mostly stopped. He's sleeping through the night more often than not now. Last week he laughed at dinner, really laughed, the kind that made him snort milk through his nose, and I realized I hadn't heard that sound in almost a year. We're rebuilding. It's slow. Some days are harder than others. But he's safe. That's what matters. 3 weeks ago, Marcus came home from practice and found me in the kitchen making dinner. Hey, Dad? Yeah? Thanks for believing me. Back in October, when I told you, I set down the knife I'd been using to chop vegetables. You never have to thank me for that. I know. But some of the guys at school, their parents don't believe them when they say stuff. Or they tell them to toughen up. Or they say it's not a big deal. It was a big deal. It is a big deal. I know. That's why I'm saying thanks. I pulled him into a hug. He's gotten taller since October. Almost as tall as me now. He'll probably pass me by next year. If anything like that ever happens again, if anyone ever hurts you or makes you uncomfortable, you tell me immediately. I don't care who it is or what the situation is. You tell me, and I will handle it. That's my job. Protecting you is always going to be more important than anything else. I know, Dad. I know. He went upstairs to do homework. I stood in the kitchen, listening to the sounds of him moving around in his room, the creak of his desk chair, the click of his laptop, the faint music from his speakers. Normal sounds. Safe sounds. If you're reading this and you have children, please listen to them. Really listen. When they tell you something is wrong, believe them. Don't explain it away. Don't assume adults in authority know better. Don't prioritize success or achievement or future opportunities over their immediate safety. Your child's well-being is not negotiable. And if you're a child reading this, or a teenager if someone is hurting you, tell someone. Keep telling people until someone listens. Take photos if you can. Save messages. Document everything. It's not tattling. It's not weakness. It's survival. There are adults who will believe you. Keep looking until you find them. Marcus is going to be okay. We both are. But it shouldn't have taken 6 weeks of abuse for us to get here. It shouldn't have taken hospital photos and police reports and court orders. It should have taken one conversation. One moment of his mother looking at his bruises and choosing him over a coach's approval. That's the failure I'm still trying to understand. Not the abuse itself. Abusers exist, and they're good at hiding what they do. But the parent who saw evidence of abuse and chose to ignore it, who told her child to accept violence as the price of success. I'll never understand that. I don't want to. What I do understand is this. Marcus is 13. He survived something horrible. He found the courage to ask for help, and now he gets to be a kid again, playing a sport he loves, without fear. That's not just a happy ending, that's justice.